Thank you for tuning in to I Stand with Zambia YouTube channel. My name is Mwansa. This channel has no political affiliation, but it is 100% affiliated with being a Zambian. Now, 50 years ago this week, Kenneth Kaunda declared a national week of mourning. This was the week of September 30th, 1970. This week of mourning was declared because the previous week, August 25th, which is the date of this recording, a disaster took place at Mufulira Mine. 89 miners were buried alive underground. What happened was they were working underground, and above them was a dam, and this dam was constructed in order to for all the waste that was coming out of the mine after they processed the copper. In the process of extracting copper, there's all this waste material, and this waste material is actually called tailings. So keep that word in mind, because you're going to hear that word a lot in this short documentary. It's mud. It's very thick. It's almost as thick as toothpaste. So that mud, that tailings, that waste was being pumped out through pipes and put into this dam. This dam is on the surface. Now the miners were working in shafts below that surface. Okay, so what happened was there was a breach in the pipes, and so the earth opened up and all that mud went into the shafts. This is the story of what happened 50 years ago this week, the week of September 25th and October 3rd. This is what happened.
It's 40 years when that mine disaster happened.
When we went in for work around 06 or so, we were told that the underground has been sunk, and then we were not even allowed to go underground that day.
Dad did not come back, and Dad has never come back up to now.
It was the darkest crowd Zambia had ever received. It was like each street in Mufulira, there was a funeral.
That mines, the spirits of the dead is in that mine. So those spirits also are looking at them.
We were pumping tails. Okay, tails is the byproduct which comes from the concentrator into this mine somewhere on the other side there. Okay, so during that period of time, we experienced a sinkhole. Okay, that is the caving in of ground, and apparently the slurry or the tailings that was actually pumped into that area found its way down into the underground workings where these 89 miners were working.
On that fateful day, apparently I was in day shift, and I was on my staff development program as a driller in the operations of diamond drilling under geology. The people who were night shift, who had gone underground to do a lot of jobs of extracting of the ore, some people doing drilling, all the other operations that were being done were somehow trapped. Even people who were so competent, like shift bosses and so forth, were some of the people that died. And some of them were quite personal friends to us. But what happened was that we were under trauma.
My uncle worked under the mines as a driver underground. That means that when the disaster occurred, he was actually working underground.
One of the survivors, Mr. Kavanda, shared his story. He described how he saw 9 of his mates disappear. I heard a very violent sound, and I then saw mud coming towards us. The ventilation fan went off and there was total darkness. I got so confused I didn't know what to do. I quickly remembered the ladder and I advised my workmates to run to the ladder, but they refused, and I never saw them since then.
By 1970, I was working in machine shop as a fit and turner. We just heard from some of the people that there was an accident underground. People have died. In case about 89 people died. That was on 25 September 1970.
The facts are that, the tailings, there was a mud rush which had gone into the shaft. And, once that has happened, yeah, definitely such kind of deaths were I expected.
You could not focus to know what was going on, even if they could see the mud that was flowing in with the water mixed up with it, and then the little samples which was being seen, it would be taken up to be just minute. But then, it's like a boil, When a boil is ripe, what happens? It blows off and then you see pus. And in this case, since it was sinking down, that mud had to inrush. And it went through 500-meter level, filled most of the stops. It went up to M1, Matelo 1, Matelo 2, Matelo 3 shafts, and it went up to the main shaft, up to the bottom of the shaft, where men were working, doing all these jobs of extraction, drilling, blasting, some men engineering who are maintaining and repairing the loaders in different workshops, electricians, doing all those things. All these had to be trapped down underground the mine.
Kenneth Kaunda ordered an inquiry into the Mufulira Mine disaster, and a report was released the following year in 1971. It was discovered that an underground manager, Mr. Forder, had reported in his logbook on April 2nd, 1970, that there was mud intrusion and that it should be ensured that they should not ignore any surge of tailings and pass the information on to the bosses as soon as possible. Mr. Forder wanted this information to be passed on to the shift bosses in the mines as soon as possible. However, it was decided that no immediate action would be taken other than to just bury the mud in the stope under clean ore by controlled blasting.
Very traumatic, very, very sad for us who had remained behind. When we went in for work around 06 or so, we were told that the underground has been sunk, and then we were not even allowed to go underground that day.
Waisajja kuma 05 twamwene banalume okwisa tukunkunsha ku kibi namulalo mumunganda nati tamunshibe kikitike kunsi okutwatyawo tatushibe nangu kibi ati abalume bonna babwela twatyawo tababwelele tabalayinuka kandi benuka twanopanga ndabesa mukufika kuma 7 nango 8 nga bafuma pamugodi so tabalafika so ati awe fumeni panse mumone ifikitike abantu bonse bale butukira kuya ku plant kaifa twayimine bonse nomba nokulaya kulya kunyaba nensu bale ku plant twasanga abantu nakidiba ku plant kulya bantu mesu bali panshi pa mugodi abali apati abantu mebadita bamoneke nabo balefumya bale bapisha fino kubatwala hospital abali ko pamuluso nomba ife bali panda ground sana baile Mikambo Road bale insha katapila japa mugodi.
When the disaster happened, that was way back in 1970. By then, I was only 12 years old, and I was in grade 7 at the moment. I left home to go to school. At school, around 12 hours, I saw my young sister, Tailings. She came to me and told me that, Dad has not come back. Because in the morning, when we were going to school, we heard that, no, there is a lot of water. Mugodi na udirika. Muri amenshi. Bashimai nabafwa. But Dad had gone to work in the night shift. So when my sister came to tell me, a tear just rolled from my one eye and it fell on the book. Dad has not come at yes. Mom has gone to the mines to see because some miners are coming out. So that's how I left school now, to run now to go to the mines to see what was happening there. When I reached there, I saw now my mother was crying, my sisters were crying.
Kwa di fingolongolo kalega, bale melemba mine number ya chingolongolo cha kwa mine. Ngabasanga chingolongolo palata chiko tabako bwele, nishi umuntu alipanshi nafa. Basanga pali hapo bale bike fingolongolo tabako bwele, nishi umuntu alipanshi. Abo bafumisha hapo fingolongolo pale ama numbers yabo, nishi na bafuma. Efo jadi, ekuishi boko batia kanshi abantu mebesu, tabali panshi tabafuire fingolongolo po fitipa mulu. Na majinga basendilo moya ikalilo mo ba mangire nyomo mwene. Efo yadi, efi abantu mebesu bafuire pa mugodi mwandini mu September 1970.
Zambia cried. You know, that time in 1970, the mines were the backbone of the economy. So the economy was affected. And the women who are mothers, definitely, you know, they are so caring and so loving. And once the person that they value so highly goes without saying bye, definitely it is all cries.
Kwali ukuloshe wa muntu impanga yonse mvulila yonse fililo fyeka menshi baletuleta fye kuli ba motoka. So tatwa bala tumona nangu lifu pali yabo, tatwa shikapo nangu mubili wabo, ifo bafwa ifo fino kufika na lelo tatwa munapo mubili waba ya shao.
I personally lost my uncle, Mr. Boston Musonda. The funeral took quite some time in the sense that although within our house we had a funeral for 3 days, but in the entire township, Kantanshi township, which was affected, and there must have been close to 67, 70 or so funerals at every other house.
There were some miners, as they were coming out, others would cheer, oh, they would be happy. But us, we just stood there. Till night time, Dad did not come back. And Dad has never come back up to now. Because according to what we heard, they had barricaded to avoid water from spilling to the other parts of the mine, so they blocked. So it's like even him was blocked there. And when they blocked, they said, there is no hope. Your father will not be there. So we never saw him and we never buried him. That's how he was gone.
Pamoja batata baleisa. Nishita baleishi nishita yapita. Kanshi kumaini nishina chidirika. Batata baishira finishi barepema shikacha kwa bati basafika muchipuna chara nina kakwachi boku butukoro bilo. Amatipa ya chira tupepeka munuma. Ngaya kusanga abanesi babengi bafa pamaini abo achirafi boku butuka. Mbabere nabaye birachakwe na ine napuso ndefine mwambona nabwera. So twalitemwene sana pantu bafyashi pali bali pusuiki abengi bali mufilambo kudila woke tachawe me pali yanshita bali ndi batata chawe tachiwe me pantu abafuire nabo bafula tibatata ba Joseph Kavungu bali pusuike nabayama ba Miji nabo bali pusuike icyakwe bati naba president wese bakawunda barishire ku kiriro paefu pali bashebwa abafuire nishipali imyoto kanishituri bayice para turetamba no kutamba turi mutamba ati ye apana abafa
bali tutwele ku mine meza kulia y'abasungu mine club y'abasungu kulia eko batutwele bali twitire bose bamukamfirwa bakawunda balishire batulanga imanda y'abalume benu iyi eko alyama nase ezukula imbe nyimbo shakuche chikuya kuine efo nomba bakawunda batupishana pamanda pene palya amashina y'abalume yenu ayabalemba pakina chikopa so manamba z'abalume benu ifingolongolo my number yabo niyi bose abalume benu balalapa onso shamuno ushashiko mulume wakwe twashika pa eko twashika.
The list of the names that you are seeing there is a combination of different types of, races, I could put it that way, because we got Zambians, we got the other people who came from Tanzania, and we got even whites who actually were working underground together with these crews here. So it's really sad that it was a combination of different types of races who were working that mine, yeah.
But I can recall of you men like who were shift bosses. At one time I was my personal friend, the late Bright Chilando, a young man who was articulating as a shift boss, and shift boss other at that time was one of those men that died off. And there were a few guys again who were loader drivers that had known, and some men also were first aid masters who were being placed at strategic places where they were having reinforcement for any accidents. They could pick up their ladders, their equipment to go and get those whoever who could get up underground. Those also died.
The death of my father left a very big impact on myself, even on us as a family, because the breadwinner was gone. Although we had elder sisters and elder brothers who now took charge of looking after us, it's difficult when you are kept. You know, it's difficult. It's difficult to please us, and it's also difficult to please those people who are keeping us. So we were devastated. It hasn't been an easy life.
But when I life mwandini yalikosele sana. Yalikosele. So kwale bafyo kubya mukulale mbesha yo bonse bamukamfirwa nomba ku compound office balembeshe tundalama tulepela kwa bana tule bafundisha kwa bana twalefola kwenda pa 25 isho bale bombi la bene atinga mwaupwa nishishapo twalikuwa toto mabuko twalefola pa 25 kila mweshi twalefola.
Although in the mines they left some money, we used to get money for school fees. It was a little amount of money until when you finished the school, and I got that money until when I finished the Form 5. Yes, but again the problem is with the higher education. Lower education, it's easy to get educated, but when you go to that level, it's very difficult to get a proper education.
Shabana ba maskulu isho balembesha tyabana ba maskulu ishakuti abana ba maskulu bakasambirira mpaka bapulisha maskulu kuba mtwala kuma college batafyachitika abana besu tafyachitika bapa maskulu bashala bale lulumba fefino kwa bula machito abana yensu bambi bali bapele kwa machito aya kuomba mufupatala nga cleaner bale ingisha patali balengisha patali amachito iyo bamukamfirwa tubengishe kwa machito tubafirishe ko kufye kubengisha machito bale bengisha bukirina mufupatala parona Gross Hospital baali bombeleko abanensubamo nomba ife twali tutukirwa tyao kalimwe ilio mwaya kumusimu kupyani kwa mwasanga enchende yapwa efo ife twaputukirwe inenga pano ine efo naputukirwe.
We have eventually given some money to our auntie for the loss of the husband, but the effects continued for a very long time in Mufulira, because the fact that so many people had died at one go meant that the entire town, which depended upon the copper mines, had come to standstill.
Now, how are the families which were affected faring today? Are we, as the government, continued supporting? Because had it not been for that, definitely the colleagues who had perished, they would have maybe left something for their families.
Ele panonga nifwe ine panondi na ibatila ino nshitabaleti napsa tatu kano ba nalile kuma offices kuno kwine ukitwe balinje bati mukalete nanikane payslip ya balekele shepo ukufula nani ife fya mama payslip ayo fyali ona ikano kuluba fyali luba kumishoko twaile tete tufisunge tulefisunga shani kaili icho tuyetwale sungila chali tutakali ukufika na numba katushingeko shabanga takwaba tatupishe shanapsa na mine number epo yaba nalikwata kareji kali kuli mutale ko mufulilo uko.
Sometime back, what they used to do when a miner dies, they would employ the wife to work in the mines. Even now, the mines should have that heart of employing our children. Maybe say one child for this person, one child for that person, just as an honor.
It is one of the disasters that had a huge number of deaths recorded ever in the mining sector. And it's very, very regrettable that we lost such gallant men to that tune of 89 people perishing at a time. We know that the government at that time had to set up the inquiry to understand the cause of the accident, which the inquiry is in public domain. It's a public document, and I think the Mine Safety Department have continued to learn the lessons from that inquiry, and today they are still enforcing on what measures the mines can put in to safeguard the lives of workers in the mine industry.
We've decided to relocate all the tailing dams away from the underground workings. You will never find a tailings dam close to the proximity of where mining is taking place underground. Like here in Mufulira, the tailings dams is far, far away from where we've got here. It's at TD's 11 near Butondo Township there. It's quite very far. If you go to Kitwe, you'll still find that we've got the TD 15, which is a tailings dam as well. It's actually located far away from the mining areas. You know, we're trying by all means to ensure that we do not have any tailings dam located closer to the caving areas, and that's what we've done so far.
I would urge the Ministry of Mines through the Inspectorate in Kitwe to be more aggressive. They should be sending their men to do a lot of visitations in areas where mining operations are, because you know what's happening in some cases. Maybe there are several shortcuts to get the butter and jam, which is the copper. So these mines, some of the mining engineers maybe are too scared not to review on things that are not supposed to be done. But then it's up to the Ministry of Mines to send a lot of inspectors who should be employed. Several of those graduates from the Copper Belt University who have done mining. There are some who have done geology, some who have done as a geotechnics engineers. These should be definitely deployed to help out in reducing such calamities.
It's 40 years when that mine disaster happened. At least the mines should at least even call for an anniversary, a memorial sort of, to remember the dead of those who died in the mine disaster. They would call us there. It's not about food or anything, no. It's just about, giving honor to the dead. We go there at the monument, say a few prayers, and then come back. The mines should advertise for such an event. It would make us at least happy. That mines, the spirits of the dead is in that mine. So those spirits also are looking at them. They should be honored through prayers.